Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Nick. Anyway, sorry about that. I just wanted to see if I could do an imitation of that. Anyway, so this is gonna be philosophical ramblings number 6. I know that was like a big involved and exciting introduction, and then oh, it's philosophical ramblings. Um, Besides making fun of myself, let's get right down to it. This will all be from 322:11, so definitely starting to catch up. And the next one will be 324, and that'll probably be on Thursday. So you're actually going to get 3 videos. Ideally, you're going to get 3 videos in 3 days. Also, hopefully, this will make up for the fact that I will definitely not be doing any videos Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Not that I typically do videos on those days, but I'm almost definitely not going to be able to do them this weekend because I will be at the New York City Anarchist Book Fair. Anyway, all that stuff aside, sorry about that. This philosophical rambling, number 6. I'm going to be talking about whether pleasure and pain is too thin a conception of morality. What Nietzsche had to say about that. Is suffering the goal? Should it be? Nietzsche again. Cruelty as meme. Cruelty as a meme or truth. I don't think I should have said meme. I think that's a wrong word. Nietzsche as a romantic, universal morality, whether it's possible, and Nietzsche and aesthetics. So those are going to be my topics for today. I think in about probably next week I'm going to be getting into Simone de Beauvoir, and I'll get more into her. Again, poor choice of words. I'll get more on the topic of her as time goes on. So anyway, getting right into it. Pleasure and pain, too thin a conception of morality. In Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, he criticized utilitarians for having happiness and pleasure for being too thin a conception of morality. And he says that basically that humans' actions and their and the results and consequences of their actions have a lot more going on than just pleasure and pain, and the idea that pleasure and pain are the only 2 things that go on in actions, and consequences are really too thin. But I disagree. I think pleasure and pain are inherent in all actions and all consequences. I think we always act in aversion to pain and in adherence with pleasure, with of course a few exceptions here and there. There's always got to be an exception to a rule, which will probably make a universal morality kind of troublesome or hard to do. But I don't think pleasure and pain is too thin conception of morality. I think if you think pleasure and pain simply within the terms of within the terms of pigs being happy about rolling in the mud. Utilitarians say pleasure and pain should be on a more intellectual basis than a physical basis. So it's I think Nietzsche's kind of strawmanning utilitarianism here. I know that I did a response to Nietzsche's claims, and whether I called it naivety in the moral theory of pleasure, and a question mark, and that's in my notes on Facebook if anyone wants to look at it. But he claims that moral theories such as utilitarianism, eudaimonianism, hedonism, which is basically the pursuit of pleasure, that their central claims are naive, that they want to abolish suffering. But this isn't true. Utilitarians and eudaimonians and hedonists, I would think anyway, want to minimize suffering insofar as it is practically and morally possible. For utilitarians, at least for John Stuart Mill type utilitarians, this is done through changing society. Through education, moral education specifically. Anyway, I've talked too much about that. Wow, 4 minutes already. Is suffering the goal? Now, this is interesting. Nietzsche talks about suffering as if it's a good thing, because this is in conjunction with his last point, because if the utilitarian wants to abolish suffering, he doesn't, then what lessons will we learn from life? Because you learn a lot from life from suffering. I mean, my professor made this point: talk to a person who suffered and talk to a person who hasn't suffered. Which one is more interesting? The white picket fence, two kids, a dog, and steady median outcome, pay all their taxes, or good little citizens, or the downtrodden. Talk to a homeless person, ask them about their experiences. A lot more interesting, I bet. So his point was very aesthetic, and I'm going to get to that later, but he was saying, maybe suffering should be the goal. Maybe we should all suffer a lot more. Maybe that's actually a good thing. Maybe to suffer is a good thing because it teaches us moral lessons. And I think this is true to an extent. But again, utilitarians are only interested in getting rid of suffering insofar as it's practical and moral, not if the pain of the suffering actually, like, if the moral lesson outweighs the pain of the suffering, then the moral lesson might be worth it, or it might make the suffering worth it. And in any case, no utilitarian would say that all suffering should be abolished and no one should suffer ever. I find that very very extreme. At least I wouldn't advocate that. Not that I'm saying I'm a utilitarian, but I do have a lot of sympathies towards their viewpoint, at least, and I do kind of like where they're coming from. As far as insofar as John Stuart Mill was coming from in his book Utilitarianism. I haven't read the whole book, unfortunately, but I'm going to get around to that. Anyway, cruelty as a meme or truth. I think I meant to say cruelty as something that is just done a lot, or something that is just true, just something an inherent part of life. Do we have to be cruel to each other? Do we need to be cruel to each other? These are questions Nietzsche poses in Beyond Good and Evil later on in his book. I forget which chapter, but it's pretty late in the book, if that's any help to anyone trying to read the book. And he tries to say, when we're cruel to other people, it's actually a good thing, because we're exerting the will to power. We're exerting our influence of other people. When we're cruel to others, it shows us, it gives us a sort of dominating good feeling. But I think this really misses the point. It's really short-sighted, a good feeling, and in the long run, domination really doesn't help out either party. Domination leads to very unequal balances of power. It leads to unneeded tensions in the relationship, and eventually this could cause the relationship to break down in a violent way. So I don't think cruelty should be considered just an inherent part of life. I think also it should be minimized, because cruelty often results in suffering. Nietzsche as a romantic. Now this is kind of funny. I just kind of want to make this point. I think it's kind of funny. Nietzsche is a romantic, and this would be surprising to anyone who knows anything about Nietzsche, because he's very cynical about moral philosophy and morals and philosophers in general, and he's very, he makes fun of utilitarians, he makes fun of Kant, he makes fun of Aristotle. He just basically shits over like 200 years of philosophy and says, what the fuck has it done? So it's kind of funny to call him a romantic, but in honesty, he has this whole rosy dream of the new philosopher, that these new free spirits will rise from the decadence of the old philosophers, and they will exert the will to power, and they will do all this and do all that and make everything all right. But it's really a rosy romantic dream, and he loves art. Nietzsche loves, well, I don't know if he loves art, but he loves seeing morality in terms of boringness or excitingness. He's like, women are becoming more like men, and they're becoming bores. Men are bores. Not bores in the animal sense, but bores aesthetically. And so Nietzsche is very much about aesthetics in his moral philosophy, it seems to me. And it's just kind of weird, because Nietzsche's like, this kind of cynical, sort of cynical. He's like, but he's also very romantic, very dreamy-eyed, very looking through rose-colored glasses, saying, oh, but the free spirit will rise eventually, and we'll get, the moral philosophy will be renewed, and the will to power will come back in full force, or something like this. So he's kind of a romantic. It's kind of funny to see that in the book. Universal morality. This is something Kant, this is something many people, universalists, I think they call them, try to do. Establish some sort of moral principle that universally applies. Like I said earlier, all rules have exceptions. I don't care what rule it is, but eventually rules are going to be broken for practicality's sake. They're great in theory, but in practice, pragmatically speaking, they're going to be broken. And it doesn't matter what rule it is or how good it is, the golden rule, the non-aggression principle, or if you want to call it the zero aggression principle, the equal liberty, the idea of equal liberty through that Herbert Spencer had. It doesn't really matter. They are all going to be violated. Now, that's not to say they're useless, and that's also not to say they shouldn't be, they shouldn't be the backbone of a free society. But these ideas, and not to say they're not good ones, but that's to say they're imperfect. They're not universal. They won't be universally applied. Maybe they're a universal good. Maybe they should be universally applied, but they won't be. So universal ethics, maybe in theory, is good. In practice, doesn't really work out. That's not to say, of course, I'm against universal ethics, but it's just to say there are certainly some problems with universal ethics and applications. So that's all I'm getting at. Nietzsche and aesthetics. This goes back to what I was earlier saying. This is kind of repetitive, but Nietzsche's kind of very much basing his moral philosophy on boringness and the morality of Germany, German nationalism and music and culture is so vulgar to him and so boring and so this and so that. It's just he finds it hard to find anything appeasing or appealing. So his concepts of what's good or bad, not good or bad per se, but what truly reflects the will to power seems to be very heavily based on aesthetics and art and sort of a I don't know, sort of the way he looks at things and not how maybe things are. So he sort of has a knowledge problem too, a epistemological problem. Anyway, okay, so I should be doing "Take the Power Back" by Rage Against the Machine tomorrow. I've been catching up with all the songs I know on bass lately, so I'm going to be well practiced for it. Hopefully. And then I might do a bonus feature. Well, I wanted that to be a surprise, but I'm going to do a bonus feature for it afterwards, and you'll see what it is. I'm hoping for it to be kind of cool, but it'll be my first bonus feature in the art section. And of course, Philosophical Ramblings number 7 should be happening on Thursday. Hopefully, that's the hope. Yeah, so I think that about does it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to keep doing videos. I hope to see people at the New York City Anarchist Book Fair on Saturday. That's the main event. That's the book fair. Friday and Sunday are mostly workshops. I'll be there myself on Saturday and Sunday. Mostly Saturday. I'll probably be leaving Sunday morning. But I hope to see you guys there on Sunday. Anybody, any anarchist or anybody who's going, it'd be great to see you guys. So all 31 of my subscribers. Anyway, so thanks for watching. Bye-bye.